So what's the connection between this 1944 edition of Twelfth Night and Virginia Woolf? It's not that she previously owned it, that would have been cool, but no. This is, again, a 1944 edition of Twelfth Night that was published by Edmund Ward in Leicester, England, and it has illustrations by Gwen Boucher. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I am not positive. It's got 8 very lovely illustrations in here, very kind of 1940s looking, very pretty. Oh, there's the Duke of Orsino talking to Cesario, aka Viola. Here's Viola going to see Olivia. The clowns of the play, the comic relief, shall we say. There's Malvolio reading the infamous letter. And there we have him parading around in front of Olivia and making a fool of himself. And there we have Viola dressed as Cesario about to fight with Sir Andrew Aguchi. Finally we come to the twins reuniting. Lovely. That's Sebastian and Viola. But let's go to the very back of the book, where she gives a note saying, "The artist wishes to acknowledge her indebtedness to Lord Sackville for kindly permitting her to use Knowle in Kent for background references in her sketches." Knowle was a large estate, and it was built in the Jacobean style of the early 17th century, although it has parts of the house that date back to the mid-15th century. It has been owned by the Sackvilles since 1603. Twelfth Night, as it happens, was written around 1601 to 1602, so it actually makes a perfect backdrop. And the Lord Sackville that the artist is referring to back in 1944 would have been Major General Charles John Sackville-West, 4th Baron of Sackville. It's a mouthful. And this Lord Sackville had a niece named Vida Sackville-West. And now Vida became very well known as a writer, a novelist, and as the lover of famous author Virginia Woolf. Now Vida recognized in herself a duality of masculine and feminine. She was technically in an open marriage with a man, but she had a lot of affairs with women, obviously. She was not faithful to Virginia Woolf. She had other lovers at the time that she was with Virginia. She split herself into 2 characters in her 1930 novel The Edwardians and named them Sebastian and Viola. So she obviously sort of identified with the somewhat androgynous twins from Shakespeare's play. So Sebastian is the young heir to a large estate, which she based, of course, on Knowle. And the other sister, Viola, she kind of chafes against societal norms. She eventually ends up marrying an adventurer. And this adventurer also tries to convince Sebastian to join them and kind of break free from the aristocracy. Now, 2 years before The Edwardians was published, Virginia published her book Orlando, a Biography, and she based the title character of Orlando on Vida herself. It was very much a love letter to Vida. And in Orlando changes sex from male to female and then proceeds to live hundreds of years and kind of navigates through British history. A very lovely thing that Virginia does in her book is she allows the character of Orlando to eventually possess his ancestral home, or her ancestral home, and that was very much a gesture of love from Virginia to Vida. Vida, of course, in real life was not allowed to inherit Knowle House, her beloved Knowle House that she had such fond memories of and wanted to possess, and indeed would have possessed if she were a male, but she was not allowed to inherit it as a female, and Virginia sort of corrected that in her biography called Orlando. So again, this is the same Knowle House that ends up in the sketches here by Gwen Boucher in Twelfth Night. And it's very appropriate that we have Sebastian and Viola roaming around Knowle House with this connection that they have to the Sackvilles and to the author Virginia Woolf.